Hi, my name is Neil Dana, and I'm the first official employee of GoPro Cameras. I'm also the director of music marketing at GoPro. Today, this video is brought to you by the Progos, which is a group of people who are closest to Nick Woodman to give you an inside view on who he really is as a leader. He's the founder and current CEO of GoPro, and the way this video is structured is we're going to start off by giving you background information on Nick, and then also GoPro. From there, we're going to dive into the personality traits that Nick embodies, as well as the theories that apply to those personality traits. From there, we're going to talk about the values that he uses as a leader, or that he shows as a leader, how he embodies them, and the behaviors that he exhibits as a result of those. Lastly, we're going to talk about the motivation strategies that Nick uses as a leader to motivate himself and his current employees to make GoPro the best company that it can be today. So, to get things started, I'm going to give you the story behind GoPro as well as more information about Nick Woodman. Now, to give you a little bit of background on Nick Woodman, he's a Cali native, natural-born surfer. The guy was introduced to surfing at the age of 8 when he saw a magazine, or a popular surfing magazine, and decided that is something that he wanted to be a part of. Ever since then, he has focused all of his decisions around his passion for surfing. When he was in high school, he used to sell t-shirts so that he could fund his surfing expenses, that being travel, whatever boards or wetsuits that he was buying. From there, he picked his college, which was UCSD, where we met. We were college roommates. He picked that based on how close it was to the beach. In addition to meeting me, he also met a few other of our first employees as well as his wife. From there, junior year when we moved off campus, he decided that his whole life was going to be based around surfing. He'd wake up, surf, class, and then go surfing again. I think this passion shows how much time Nick is going to allocate to something that he's passionate about. I think his entrepreneurial spirit was mainly found from his dad, Dean Woodman. His dad founded a investment bank called Robertson Steffens, and he also worked on the legendary Pepsi-Taco Bell merger. From there, after school, Nick went on to co-found 2 different companies. The first was Empower All, and the second was Funbug. After the second company crashed, he went on his legendary Australia trip with all of us, which changed everything. I'll dive into that a little bit later when I'm going over the company. And Nick today, if you want to get a good understanding of who he is, he's a very family-oriented man. He has this rule of thumb where he won't start business until 9 or 10 p.m. so that he can sit down with his family, eat breakfast, and then drive his kids to work. On top of that, he never stays at the office late so that he can go back and spend time with his family. Moving on, if you really want to see how passionate Nick is about surfing and spreading the stoke, as he calls it, you can just listen to some of his interviews. He says the best part for him about working at GoPro is that he gets to go on Facebook and watch the videos that everyone's using his product, posts of them just very stoked on whatever they're doing, whether it's surfing or mountain biking or anything else. And that is why he goes to work every day. I found that very interesting. So, after Nick's second company failed, he knew it was time for him to move on and try and figure out what his next big idea would be. So what he did is he grabbed 8 of us, and we all flew out to Australia and drove 5,000 miles around that country just surfing at different spots. One of the things that we were constantly running into is that we couldn't find a way to really capture the true sensation of surfing. And by that, we mean all the filming that we were doing was done from the beach of us out in the ocean. So what Nick had already kind of previously thought of was getting a camera to go out and film someone surfing, whether it was them diving into a pipe or just taking off and getting up and surfing out. So that was something that he really wanted to do, and that Australia trip was what made him realize that was his next project. After that trip, him and his wife Jill flew out to Bali, and while they were there, they realized how they were going to finance the trip. And Jill came back one day with a belt that had little beads and shells on it, and Nick found it very interesting and kind of cool. And once he realized that the belt only cost her $2, they went back to the supplier and bought 600 of them. After that, they spent the next 2 months in California out of their van selling it for $60 each. From there, Nick spent the next 2 years sitting in his parents' attic developing this product, only leaving to go get a coffee just so he would stay sane and see other people. Since then, the company has taken off extraordinarily. They haven't had 1 year where it was not profitable, and they've already made 5 different models of these cameras, with more coming out every year. On top of that, Nick took the company public in 2014, but never really gave up on the whole entrepreneurial spirit by making sure that everyone within the company still feels like it's a large family. Us 8 who originally were on that trip received very nice stock packages after the IPO. And although there is a lot of money that came both of our ways, it never really changed the way that we saw the company. The company has a very high employee retention, and it's extremely family oriented, which is something that Nick really wanted to embody and something that he's a part of.
I interviewed many employees at GoPro to get the full scope of the personality of the one and only Nick Woodman. I learned that he possesses the winning combination of being as laid back as a surfer and as driven and innovative as an entrepreneur. According to close friends, he's always been a risk taker with a go big or go home personality, and that has led him to success. First, I look at his personality as it relates to the big 5 personality traits. The 2 that are most prevalent for Woodman are extroversion and openness to experience. Extroversion is defined in the textbook as a person who is gregarious, assertive, and sociable. You can see that Woodman is sociable because he got the idea for GoPro while on a surfing trip with his friends. Obviously, he's sociable in that he's out with his friends, but he also listened to their needs, and he was assertive enough to follow through and create something that would serve his and others' needs as well. Now, openness to experience is defined as someone who is creative, curious, and cultured. I found this to be evident in Woodman based on a quote he himself gave. He says, "I thought I was inventing the most important innovation in surfing while sewing together the first prototype GoPro wrist strap, the sewing machine I borrowed from my mom. An inverter rigged to the VW's battery powered the sewer while we camped and sold off those belts." Not only does this show creativity in inventing the wrist strap itself, but also in the way that it was made. He borrowed a sewing machine. He used a VW. He used the resources that were available to bring his idea to reality. Also, as you heard, he modified and sold the belt to make money. It's definitely a creative way to go about doing it. As Woodman himself says, "Our passions lead us to create experiences and realities that expand our world and inspire those around us." That definitely sounds like someone who's open to experience. I also found he's among the rare type of individual who possesses both general self-efficacy and self-esteem. General self-efficacy is a view of oneself as being able to perform well in a variety of tasks, whereas self-esteem is a general feeling of self-worth. I found both of these traits to be evident in Woodman based on his response to the question, "What would you be doing if GoPro had failed?" He said, "In truth, GoPro's been profitable since day one, and it never occurred to me we wouldn't be successful. Sometimes not having a clue can be your biggest asset as an entrepreneur. Invincibility is a good thing." Clearly, he thought that he could create a good product. That's self-efficacy. He took this confidence and applied it to his ability to create a successful company as well. He believed in himself. He knew he could do it. He had self-esteem. After learning about Woodman's personality, I hypothesized his Myers-Briggs type indicator to be ENFP: extroversion, intuition, feeling, perceiving. Someone who is extroverted draws energy from others. This is evident in Woodman because GoPro was never just his product. He came up with the idea with the help of his friends. His girlfriend helped him sell the belts to make money for the project. Even when it became an actual company, his first employees were family and friends. He referred to them as a tight crew. He liked having them around, and they inspired him to keep making better products. That's extroversion. Intuition is when we focus on what could be. Woodman spoke for all intuitors when he said, "We dream. We have passionate ideas about what's possible in this world." He didn't settle for the means available to him. He knew something was missing on the market, so he took action to make it a reality. Feeling is when you make decisions in a personal, values-oriented way. Woodman decided to make a GoPro because he wanted it. Figured if he wanted it, others would want it too. He knew his friends at least would want it. But still, him and his friends, that's personal. And perceiving is when you explore alternatives with flexibility and spontaneity. Just one thing Woodman is spontaneous. He never settles. He's always looking for the next big thing. In his own words, he says, "As rad as this is, we're just getting started. With even more capable cameras, editing tools, VR capture solutions, and flying machines on the way, GoPro is about to get even mucho más rad." That says a lot about his personality right there. Now, our textbook gives descriptions for all Myers-Briggs types. For ENFP, the description says that these individuals are warmly enthusiastic and imaginative. They see life as full of possibilities and make connections between events and information very quickly and constantly perceive based on patterns they see. They want a lot of affirmation from others and are willing to give appreciation and support. They are spontaneous and flexible and often rely on their ability to improvise. While many of these descriptions are evident in Woodman, I'll focus on just two examples. First, the ability to make connections between events and information. Woodman got the idea to sell belts to raise money for GoPro when his girlfriend bought just one. He immediately saw the opportunity available and didn't hesitate to act on it. And it worked out in his favor. Also, he readily gives appreciation and support to his employees and customers. Specifically focusing on the customers, he's always saying how GoPro wouldn't be what it is, wouldn't be possible without the people who buy it and use it. They're their number one advertisers by posting videos of everything they do with the GoPros. Because of them, GoPro has become a success, and Woodman is more than willing to acknowledge this. It doesn't hurt that by showing his support, the customers are more likely to come back and buy more products. That's what I've got for you. That's the personality of Nick Woodman in a nutshell.
Nick Woodman didn't simply become a highly paid and incredibly successful CEO overnight. No. Nick developed an important set of values throughout his life, which in turn laid the groundwork for his success. Having learned about Milton Rokeach's value survey many years ago in my organizational behavior class, I can now identify which instrumental and terminal values Nick holds. One of Nick's most obvious instrumental values is ambition. Nick's ambition drives him to achieve great things with his never-ending determination. For example, Nick took the general concept of the product we all know as the GoPro, developed it into a tangible product, and built a highly successful company around it. If that doesn't scream ambition, I don't know what else does. All of that ambition and drive made him incredibly successful, but he didn't lose himself along the way. Because he didn't let success change him, I believe an instrumental value of his is reliability. An example of this fits with the deal he made with his college roommate Dana. When Nick was in college, he wanted to start this company, right? And he promised his roommate 10% of any profits made from selling stocks once the company launched if he worked for him. Once the company did launch, the whole board didn't really like that, but Nick Woodman wanted to honor the deal, so he paid him out of pocket. As I touched on before, Nick took just the general idea of the GoPro and made it a reality. This was due in part to another one of Nick's instrumental values, imagination. Nick's imaginative mindset drives every decision he makes, so much so that he is still in the thick of the development process for the company. He's stated he doesn't want to just delegate, that his entrepreneurial spirit is the reason he created the company in the first place. Not only is Nick a creative and imaginative person, he also holds the instrumental value of practicality. When you create something, you need to think in simple terms. What does my customer want, and how do I achieve it? Nick and his friends were his own customer. He knew what would work best. He knew from experience the specifications the product would need. This demonstrated his practicality in creating a simple, helpful product. After all of his success and the rapid pace of his company's growth, he still holds one instrumental value that keeps him grounded: love. Nick married and co-founded GoPro with his college girlfriend, Jill Scully. The two of them now have 3 children that Nick would do anything for. Nick makes sure to set away time in the evenings and in the mornings with absolutely no work-related business so that he can spend quality time with his family. Enough about Nick's instrumental values. Let's talk about what he wants to accomplish and strives for, his terminal values. One of the main reasons the GoPro was even created was due to Nick's adventurous lifestyle. Nick was, and always will be a surfer dude. This is why I believe one of Nick's terminal values is an exciting and active life. Nick wants to experience all the crazy things the world has to offer, and with the GoPro, he can show the world what he can do. Another important terminal value of Nick is recognition and achievement. Tying in with what I said before, Nick wanted to show the world all the crazy stunts he could do while surfing. That is what spurred him to create the GoPro and what drove him to create the company. Nick Woodman not only wants to show the world his own achievements, but he also wants anyone anywhere to be able to show off what they can do. I'll show you what he said in an interview before.
So who here knows that GoPro has the GoPro channel on YouTube, and you can subscribe to it? It's like it's think of it as your once a day amazing 1 to 2 minute fix of some incredible thing that happened somewhere in the world, and it's not a big commitment. It's just 30 seconds, 60 seconds, a minute 30, and the programming are things like this pelican orphan that was an animal refuge in Tanzania found an orphaned pelican after a storm and nursed it to health, and they realized this pelican never learned how to fly. And so they taught the pelican how to fly by running up and down the beach with it, with the humans flapping their arms. And the pelican learned. And the most amazing thing, and why I'm able to tell you this, is because the workers at this refuge had a GoPro, and they very carefully zip-tied the GoPro to the pelican's beak. It didn't hurt it. It's all good. And they documented this whole thing. And you can tell the story in a minute 30, and it shows them running up and down with it, and then it shows the pelican kind of trying to get itself together, and then the pelican goes for it and learns to fly. And you literally go for a flight with the pelican. The camera's out at the end of the beak looking back at it. So you see the pelican's eyes and you see its full wingspan as it's cruising over the ocean in Tanzania with the jungled shore just right there. And it goes out for a short, 30, 40-second flight and comes back and lands on the beach. And it's a total, emotional experience when you know that this was the pelican's first ever flight, and it was because of humans' love and care for it. And those are the types of experiences that we love to see people capture and share with their GoPros, and it creates this deeper understanding the world has of itself.
As that video shows, Nick clearly cares about social recognition. That's why I believe one of his most important terminal values is social recognition. He himself wants to be able to show everyone what he has done. He wants everyone to experience what he's done and to appreciate it. But he also wants anyone anywhere also to be able to show off what they do and have the same sort of experience. The final, and in my opinion, most important terminal value of Nick's is having a successful social and professional life. Nick certainly wants to be a successful businessman and CEO, but that doesn't stop him from wanting to be a genuinely nice and social person. He wants to be a big part of his children's life as well. Nick wants it all, one could say, and he certainly is looking like he can get it. That's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to Nick Woodman's values. He's a highly ambitious person with a passion that drives him to succeed in pretty much every facet of his life.
Nick Woodman is a multifaceted man. His experience in business development and product development have shaped him into a successful CEO, 2015's most successful CEO for that matter. His strong set of motivational characteristics have helped him to develop a strong set of management styles and also maintain a very positive work environment for us, his employees. Nick holds his family very close to him. We never see him around the office before 10 a.m. because he uses that time to wake up with his wife and kids and spend that time with his family, eating breakfast with him. I think that this links closely to Nick's strong need for affiliation. He encourages us to maintain close, tight-knit relationships with not only other employees, but with him as well. He also encourages us to express our emotions at work. Nick is always expressing his emotions through passion and his dedication to work, and it's something that we really do feed off of. One thing that Nick really hates is conflict at work. He encourages us to work through many problems and reduce the amount of conflict that is seen in the work environment. Something that I think Nick loves is putting us into teams. Because of that, we are able to work through problems and challenging goals that Nick assigns us. This really motivates us to accomplish our day-by-day tasks as well as our long-term goals. Another thing that stands out, not only to us as his employees, but to the public as well, is Nick's strong need for achievement. I mean, come on, the highest paid CEO last year is something to stand for, but Nick still is looking for more new technologies and new innovation in his own industry. In terms of Nick's developmental stages and ERG theory, I think that he's in his growth stage. Although this may seem as a positive for some people in terms of his self-actualization and need to achieve the highest in his own internal control, I think it does inhibit certain things in his management style. Nick has a very hard time delegating many tasks to us, his lower employees. He wants to be very involved in product development as well as the packaging process for our company. I think this is just attributed to Nick's major in college. Being an arts major, Nick wants to make sure that he could have his voice in the company's overall product development and overall packaging in order to promote the most success in the company. Simply put, Nick is a winner and he refuses to quit. I attribute this to his 2 previous failed businesses. He knows what it's like to fail, and he knows what he needs to do in order to succeed. Nick's fire and dedication to his company is something that us employees see as a very positive thing in the work environment. It motivates us to match his intensity and his dedication to the product. Nick sets challenging yet attainable goals for us in the company and encourages us to work through them positively. Nick is an entitled, or some people like to call it, a taker. He really has shown us that in order to get what we want, we really need to go out and get it. Nothing was ever given to Nick in his life, and he knows that, which is why he works so tirelessly to achieve the company's goals. GoPro has some of the most innovative technology in the industry. The camera is one of a kind, yet Nick is still looking for new, innovative technologies. He refuses to let competitors get a leg up on him, and this fire that he uses in the workplace really motivates us to. I think that Nick's management style is very effective. I mean, the highest paid CEO in the world, you might think that he doesn't care about his employees, but we can really tell that Nick does care about us. He encourages that we're working with him, not for him. He's very involved in the office, and he loves to come around and see what we're doing and see our progression in achieving our goals. I think Nick still really loves the product. The product isn't that new as it used to be. It's about 7 years old, but Nick is still really motivated and encouraged to improve it. He's excited about going to work, and he loves coming into the office and spending time with us.
Hi, my name is Jill Woodman, and I'm married to Nick Woodman, CEO of GoPro. I first met Nick when we were at San Diego State University. He was in one of my art classes, but from the moment I met him, I knew he just wasn't the average college kid. Of course, he did like to have fun, like we all did, but he was always focused on something more. Before Nick started GoPro, he had 2 failed businesses. These first 2 businesses really tore him up. He was upset that they went under, of course, but he was more disappointed in the fact that he took people's money and then wasn't able to return their investment. Because of that, when it came time to start GoPro, we decided to just do it all on our own. You could say we pulled ourselves up by our bootstraps, and I even helped him fund it by creating little bracelets and things like that we sold. That attitude of motivation carried over to our family life. We have 2 beautiful children, and once GoPro started to take off, Nick became more involved in it, of course, and it became more of a time commitment. Even with that, however, he still made time for his family. He still does make time for his family. He is always there to make sure he's tucking the kids into bed at night and is always there in the morning. He actually doesn't go until work till 10 to make sure he can eat breakfast with the kids and take them to school. Family is what really drives him, and of course being successful in his business too, but his family has always come first. He's just a completely centered family man. With this all being said, as successful as he is and as great as a family man he is, he's still the adrenaline junkie I fell in love with college.
So, in conclusion, GoPro right now has some of the hottest products on the filming market, mainly geared towards extreme athletes, but also used for professional filming. I hope that by learning about Nick Woodman as a CEO through his personality traits, his values and motivational strategies that he uses as a leader for GoPro. You've learned more about how GoPro's become the company it is today based on who he is. If you would like to learn more about Nicholas Woodman or the GoPro company, please don't hesitate to go on our wiki page, which we outline a nice brief intro of both of them, as well as including photos and videos using the GoPro. Thank you for viewing.